Hey, I'm Laureen, and my mom always made me feel like I was a big disappointment. She wanted me to be a straight A student, but no matter how hard I studied, I rarely even got a B-. My worst subject was math. It didn't make any sense to me, and my math teacher, Mrs. Blacksmith, didn't even try to help me figure it out. Instead, she'd make fun of me for being stupid. If I asked a question, she would say things like, "Oh wow, Laureen doesn't get it again. Okay, let's all go extra slow for Laureen. 1 + 1 is 2. You understand it now, Laureen? Or do you want to waste more of our time?" I don't know why she hated me. I mean, I never disturbed her classes, unlike some of my classmates, because I'm rather quite shy. I guess she thought that I was the perfect victim because I wouldn't stand up for myself, but she was wrong about that. At first, I tried to tell my mom about how Mrs. Blacksmith was picking on me, but my mom said I simply should stop asking stupid questions so I wouldn't annoy my teachers anymore. But one day, Mrs. Blacksmith took it too far. When we got a class photo done, she showed it to the whole class and said, "Laureen, why can't you smile nicely like everyone else? You ruined the whole photo. I can't hang it on the wall with you looking stupid like that." I was close to tears and everyone else was giggling. That's when I decided to tape every class I had with her, so I'd have evidence of how she treated me. I started to ask stupid questions on purpose all the time, like, "What's the difference between a triangle and equator again?" And every time I asked her to explain something, she made fun of me. I recorded her for 6 months, until I had over 50 recordings of her insulting and embarrassing me. I figured I had more than enough evidence to prove my teacher had been picking on me. So I went to the principal and played him a compilation of Mrs. Blacksmith's worst insults. He looked shocked, but all he said was to come back to his office tomorrow before school to discuss the matter with Mrs. Blacksmith. When I went home, I played my dad the recording and he went nuts, saying, "No one treats my daughter like that." And my dad knows a lot of policemen in our small town, so he asked one of his buddies to support me during the meeting. When I arrived with my parents and a policeman at the principal's office, the principal, Mrs. Blacksmith, and 3 other men from the school authority were already waiting for us. I was so glad I had a policeman to back me up, especially since Mrs. Blacksmith said she was happy we were there to discuss me because I was such a problem student. But then the principal asked me to play the recording. I still remember how Mrs. Blacksmith's expression went from confident to, "I am screwed." Afterwards, the principal turned to Mrs. Blacksmith and asked, "Do you want to say something?" Her face went bright red. She knew there was no excuse for what she'd done. All she said to me was, "I'm sorry for mistreating you, Laureen. It won't happen again." The principal said, "You're right, it won't happen again, because you are fired." Mrs. Blacksmith started crying, but didn't say anything. She knew there was nothing she could do. But it got even better. My dad's policeman friend told her she was under arrest for bullying. It turns out that making fun of someone is a serious offense, even though I'm not sure it was necessary to put her in handcuffs and to escort her outside. However, on her way out of the office, our eyes met for a quick moment, and I couldn't help but smile. Mrs. Blacksmith never came back to our school, and it wasn't long before word spread about what I'd done. It turned out I wasn't the only one she'd been picking on. Suddenly, all kinds of people were coming up to me to thank me for getting rid of her. I even made some friends because of it. If that wasn't crazy enough, a few years later, a friend of mine told me Mrs. Blacksmith was now a private tutor. I guess she's not allowed to teach in public school anymore. I also know that tutors make less money than teachers do, so she got what she deserved, even though I hope she treats her students better now than she treated me. If you should ever have a teacher that picks on you, make sure to record everything they say and make sure to tell your parents and your principal about it. because sometimes you have to take things into your own hands. Thank you for listening to my story, and please subscribe to this channel.